And we are back to the In My Defense podcast, folks. I hope you missed me. I missed you. It is I, your host, Christian, and we are here to talk another geeky subject of the week. Took a little bit of time off. Not to worry, folks. I am back and with a vengeance. Coming in strong with the one, the only, Santa Claus himself to celebrate the holiday season. Santa Claus is this mythic figure that almost exists outside of Christmas. We only get to see him during Christmas, but there is so much myth and legend surrounding this fictional character that it kind of just fascinates me, and I wanted to geek out about him today. I had my friend Nick come on the show. He was totally down with hearing me geek out about Santa and all the amazing things that kind of surround this somewhat mysterious character that we made up to sell Coca-Cola almost 100 years ago, right? I think that's how it goes. But Nick was a fantastic guest, had a really lovely conversation. I hope he learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. He learned a lot about himself. We both learned a lot about each other. I'm hoping anybody listening to this will learn a lot about themselves as well. Find a whole appreciation for Santa Claus and the whole thing that he represents, even outside of Christmas, how it's just like this amazing story that has built up in legend for so long, and kind of the amazing aspect of storytelling that we all surround ourselves with. Don't want to get too much into it just yet. I'll let you guys figure it out. Check out inmydefensepodcast.com. Let's get into the show. Alright, so I am here with one of my very good friends, Mr. Nick Saenz. Nick, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
And I just actually realized just a few minutes ago, we're here to talk about good old Santa Claus, good old Saint Nicholas, and I have my own little Saint Nicholas here to discuss it. So yeah, the serendipity is kind of amazing me right now. So before we get into what I have to say about Santa Claus, Nick, what is your relationship with Santa Claus? How do you feel about the character?
Personal.
That's intimate. What I'm here for. I want the deets.
Yeah. Maybe inappropriate.
Spill the tea, boy.
And then
what was
I'm just definitely raised with him. How about you? Did you grow up with the whole Santa Claus factor?
Yeah, for sure. My family, okay. I didn't really grow up very religious. Right, so maybe sure. The religious aspect, and to me, as I got less and less religious as I got older, Santa Claus became less ingrained with actual the religion part of it, celebrating Jesus' birthday and all that kind of stuff, and just more Santa Claus is just this figure who every once a year to celebrate the winter solstice will bring toys to small children.
I mean, I was raised pretty religious, but it was still separated. I mean, I don't think I ever really understood the connection between Santa Claus and Jesus.
At what point at what age did you stop believing in Santa Claus? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, I do. It's really embarrassing how long it took, though, so I won't say it. 8th grade here on the podcast.
Okay.
It was definitely, I guess, the whole vibe you're going for is something with very strong opinions, which is unfortunate because I'm indecisive about everything.
No, you are definitely one of the most chill people I know. So
wow, no one's ever said that, doesn't? But I thank you.
Just as a vibe. I don't know, whatever. I could tell there's some kind of there's extreme conflict happening within, but
sure. Well, I appreciate that. That's another good way to put it. But I will say it's what made it more embarrassing maybe is looking back on it is not so much that how long it took me to stop believing, but that I didn't just I was very much okay, like I want to say when I was like already much younger, knew something was up. You know, it's like you already meet people that are like way ahead of you on the curve, on like smelling bullshit, and what was it? Yeah, I would be kind of like defend myself. I guess I just didn't want to stop believing because it just immediately became less fun. So it's like for the last couple of years, I was getting really sincere. It became more like, oh yeah, I want to just keep. It's just fun, and but yeah, then once it officially died, Christmas kind of changes, you know.
No, yeah, that perfectly makes sense to me. I remember sometime like when I was really young, like you start noticing things a lot more. And it's like, why is it that my parents don't want me to go into the living room by the Christmas tree anytime during this certain time of night? And it's because they're grabbing the gifts from the closets and all that, trying to put them on the tree, making everybody think Santa Claus stopped by, and then once everybody is kind of sure that Santa Claus isn't a thing where like they stop labeling like the Christmas tags with from Santa and that kind of stuff, and it just becomes more and more obvious unless you have kids in the family,
right? I was the youngest, so it was like my siblings got to play along after a certain point too.
So yeah, that makes perfect sense. And like Santa Claus does kind of represent his figures, like it is very much like the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah,
and
you
all
hear
that kind of
stuff. Jesus.
Jesus ain't got no word. Jesus didn't give me a gift on his birthday. And so like for anyone who might not be familiar with Santa Claus for some reason, I always have to assume there's somebody out there.
Plenty.
But Santa Claus is kind of like just figure who, depending on who you are, was invented by Coca-Cola in the 1930s to promote their sodas. You have like this big fat white dude with long white beard and red outfit. Who gives gifts to every little kid, every good little boy or girl, or neither in the world on Christmas Eve. Yeah, or coal if you're being naughty. Do you have any favorite representations of Santa Claus in the media? Like, any like favorite movies or shows or specials that kind of came out around this time?
No. I mean, Santa as a lore, can embody anything. So any take on Santa is probably a good take. Because it turns out he's not real. I don't know who needs to hear that. I don't know if we're gonna circle back to this at some point. It's gone, right?
You're just trying to make sure that we got that out there, just in case. Like, guys, Santa is not real. There is not a giant white man sneaking into your house at night on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
For me, I do kind of really I love like some of the ones that stick out to most are like the Rankin Bass Christmas specials. Like, there's Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
I don't think I know those.
It's it's the claymation ones, right? Like like they play like
okay. What I'm saying, I love those.
Yeah, everyone knows the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer ones, but I think Santa Santa has two. There's there's the origin story, like the superhero origin story that of Santa Claus is coming to town, and then there's the life and adventures of Santa Claus or Saint Nicholas or something like that. Which is based on a novel, which I'll get into in a little bit. And the reason I kind of wanted to talk about Santa Claus, like, one, because it's the holidays, and I kind of wanted to like just stay on theme for that. Two, is because most of us have the image of like the Coca-Cola sponsored Santa Claus that we're all familiar with, of the just big jolly dude with a Coke bottle in his hand,
best
and
friend
a big
is
smile.
A polar bear.
Yeah, his best friend is a polar bear.
Yeah.
and
they always like they're in the igloo being like, man.
But the legend, the myth, the story of Santa Claus has existed probably like twice as long as that has, at least. And then the stories that it comes from have been around since like the 4th century. Like, literally, like there's all kinds of figures. Yeah, there's all kinds of figures throughout history that people have taken like chunks and pieces here to create the whole myth of Santa Claus as it exists today. And what like to me, I've said before, like, I really love stories. I love storytelling, and to me, everything is viable. Every piece, every origin story, every piece of lore about this character is valid to some degree, right?
This is what we're here to talk about today. Is anything that's been said about Santa is canon. All right.
Yeah. Basically, and because here's the thing, there's a pattern. There's certain patterns that pop up with things that's like, oh yeah, this must be a part of the character, right? Like it's like me, I'm a big comic book fan, and so in the history of like Batman, Superman, all these characters that are so long lived, not everything that people write about in their stories is necessarily canon, even if it's done like by the official companies. Yeah. But if a certain idea is repeated enough, people are just, oh yeah, that's got to be true, right? So at some point, Santa Claus was just a guy that wears red and has the, like, I don't know what you call one of those floofy hats, and he delivers gifts to children all around the world on Christmas, and that became part of the canon as long as enough people were repeating it over time, as long as people were referencing back to it.
It's really what's different is the magic system that people constantly will bicker about. It's like we're talking about it in a comic book context, and it's like, well, Santa, I don't know, and Santa Detective Santa comics number 147. I'm not sure. Like, no one's gonna use skinny through the chimney method. That's so ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Can't wait for the dark and gritty reboot of Santa Claus. Which I think can happen based on some of the stories that I have here today. But and also, like, speaking of like the Marvel, like, DC versions of Santa Claus, like, and seeing how like Santa Claus pops up in other media, one of my favorite things that happens around Christmas time is whenever like those crossovers take place, whenever some well-known long-running franchise includes Santa Claus, because one of the best things I think anybody can ever do is when Santa Claus is just a thing. Everyone already is aware that Santa Claus exists, nobody questions it, because we're living in this world where people fly around and shoot laser beams out of their eyes, so of course Santa Claus is out there. Sure. It makes perfect sense, and that's one of my favorite things. Like, it happens in the comics, it happens in like some TV shows sometimes. Like, it's like Santa Claus is just a part of like a cartoon when he shows up on a show. It happened on Power Rangers, I think, at one point.
SpongeBob, the Christmas episode.
They just go to the North Pole and it's like, oh yeah, hey Santa, how you doing? It's like, what's up? Nobody questions Santa, just exists. It's one of my favorite things that happens.
Superman's like, finally, the Fortress of Solitude. I'm here alone. Santa's like, oh, Superman, what are you doing here?
There actually is. There's a well-known 2-page little like webcomic done by Ty Templeton where it's on Apocalypse, right? Like Darkseid is the big bad evil of the DC universe. Like, he's Thanos was Marvel's answer to him. Like, he's just this big bad evil god of darkness, and his sidekick is there, and he's telling him, "Sir, he's penetrated all our defenses. None of the Hellcats are able to take him down. He's on his way." And Darkseid is like, "When will he get here?" And then it's like, "He's already inside." And then Santa Claus is standing there right next to them, checking his list, and he's like, "Oh, you have been naughty very much. So I got to give you a piece of coal." And he gives Darkseid a piece of coal, and then he bounces and gets the fuck out of there. It's like, don't let him escape. So like every year in the DC universe, Santa Claus takes a trip to Apocalypse just to give Darkseid a piece of coal because he's such a piece of shit.
Well, that's definitely canon. So.
yeah, that's for sure. That's part of my Santa Claus canon. Speaking of which, to get into some of the lore around Santa Claus, so like I said, there's been many different versions of Santa Claus that have existed, and there's many that exist throughout time. There's a lot of different what can I say, sources, well, not sources, but basically people reference. One of the most popular ones, like, there's been multiple saints called Nicholas, right? Like, Saint Nicholas is like the name that we give to Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, all that kind of stuff.
There are a lot of Nicks in this universe.
There are very much a lot of Nicks in this universe, and Saint Nicholas is like there's like 2 or 3 like official saints in Christianity that are named Nicholas. The one that is most likely like where most of the stories of Santa Claus come from is Saint Nicholas of Myra. He became a saint in the 4th century. This dude, let me see. He is officially, depending on who you ask. Again, like, I'm not an expert in any kind of like history or any kind of this kind of thing. This is all based on like my own version of bullshit research. So like, if anybody wants to correct me, feel free.
Yeah. Send us your letters. How dare you?
I am ready for it. I thrive off of your hate.
What is I'm sorry. You should go into this right after. I'm curious what Santa fandom is like. You know, like where I don't think I've met someone that's like huge into Santa. You know what I mean?
There's quite a few Santa fans out there. Like the person who I follow this writer. Well, I used to follow this writer, Chris Sims. He wrote for like a lot of like comics news websites, and he has his own podcast. He's kind of like a well-known pop culture writer, and he was a big Santa fan. But
nice.
the person he references the most is another writer who he worked with named Benito Sereno, who was a comic book writer and kind of like an unofficial Santa Claus scholar. And apparently, I found in my research, there's a website called the St. Nicholas Center, which is basically an entire website based off of bringing the truth out about St. Nicholas and kind of like.
Sweet. So they're out there. You're out there. Yeah, and like forgoing all this like nonsense about Santa Claus. Like, you guys think Santa Claus is cool? Wait till you find out about St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas is the real OG when it comes to like badass holiday figures to follow. And St. Nicholas is depending on who you ask, he is the saint of children, gifts, sailors, thieves, and pirates, and also beer. Beer too, huh?
Yeah, he's
wow.
Yes, so like the image of Santa Claus that pops up a lot in like ancient history, and by ancient history I just mean anything probably before like 1920, is like do you ever see that movie Rise of the Guardians, the one that was on like a Justice League of holiday figures?
No, I did not. I know what it is, and it looked very unappealing to me.
Now it's actually not bad. Okay. It's definitely trying to like set up a franchise, and unfortunately it wasn't like successful, because I think like it came out in Christmas and it features Santa Claus, but the movie takes place around Easter.
Oh, interesting.
Like closer to Easter, because like it's like basically all your favorite holiday mascots are all. Thank you. Mascots are all part of like a Justice League type of team. So like it's got Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy,
the Bugs Bunny,
the Easter Bunny played by Hugh Jackman. But Alec Baldwin had played the Santa Claus, and in that Santa Claus is just like this. He's covered in tattoos. He walks around with like 2 scimitars. He's basically like a Russian pirate.
Oh damn!
Which is very close to a lot of the legends regarding Santa Claus, because Saint Nicholas of Myra, when he officially became a saint, it happened because he got into an argument with another saint.
Yeah.
He was at the Council of Nicaea, and he was in like a theological argument versus this other saint in front of Constantine the Great, who was the ruler at the time, and he got so mad at the other guy for like talking shit about Jesus that he walked across the room and knocked him the fuck out.
Damn. Don't mess with Jesus.
Yeah, no, that's another thing that pops up recently. Like Saint Nicholas was someone who was like die hard for Jesus. If anybody spoke up against him, he would just straight up kick their ass.
Well, maybe okay. I don't know if you're losing points now, Santa. But
but apparently it is illegal to like punch somebody in front of the emperor or something like that. Like what he did was illegal, so they sent him to jail, and they took away all his priest robes, and they locked him up in chains. And when they came in the next day to like check on him, he was apparently back in his robes and his chains, and he was out of his chains. And according to Saint Nicholas of Myra, Jesus and Mary had come to him in the night and freed him because he was such a diehard.
So like, we're gonna help you because that guy was a piece of shit.
Yeah, and so then he became like an official saint of the wrongfully imprisoned.
I don't know. Okay, I guess the wrongfully imprisoned. I don't know how I feel about that story. knowing more about it, it's like, can you imagine today if there's just this guy at the bar that's like, "What'd you say about Jesus?" Like throws his drink on the floor and just starts beating the crap out of you. Like, I'm pretty sure that's like a hate crime. and then Jesus comes to you in the middle of the night to be like, "Hey, good right hook, buddy." Like winks and like flies off.
No, I like these are all like cool stories, but yeah, definitely.
No, you invented them. This is yours. This you're in charge of this.
I do have to admit that like this is all just my this is all basically my elevator pitch to get like a Santa series done on Amazon, and you're just my target audience here, Nick. I'm just trying to convince you, man.
It's true. I'm ready for it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm feeling the way about Saint Nicholas the way I feel about any historical figure from like maybe before the last 100 years.
Yeah, don't dig up the truth. But
don't dig up the truth, right? Like these are all like you're probably an asshole. You're existing in a different time where like people were just less inclined to like trust and love each other, and if you didn't follow a certain like there was definitely a right and wrong back then for everything. Like everybody just saw them. I just assumed there was no color before like 1950 or something like that. And there's been plenty of assholes since then, but I just full blanket across anybody that's over like 100 years old. You're probably a dick.
Probably.
But yeah, so and like there's plenty of other stories that come up like Saint Nicholas. He was known for performing like a bunch of miracles.
That's good.
And he to the point where he had a nickname. His nickname was Nikolaus the Wonder Worker.
Nikolaus the Wonder Worker.
And some of his miracles included, well, there's two that he's most famous for. The first one involves just kind of like he was helping out like some sailors by like multiplying their shipment of wheat for food.
That's cool. I don't know if Wonder Worker is really a nickname. Wait, do you know in your podcast studies of everything, does a nickname have to be shorter than what it starts, or is it just a different name?
Not necessarily. I mean, like, a nickname is whatever we want it to be, right? Like,
okay.
What will be the better nickname? Might not be the best word for it.
Someone
like,
that performs a lot of miracles. I don't know.
They knew that Miracle Man was going to be taken by Jack Kirby in the 1960s, so they couldn't use it. But I mean, what do like it's like one of those boxer titles, right? Like whenever they introduce a boxer for a boxing match, it's like Ray Sugar Ray Leonard. Like,
yeah, I mean, I was about to pitch Nick a Wonder instead of Nikolaus, and so probably best to move on. Don't take my suggestions.
And one of the miracles was helping out a bunch of sailors, so like he was big on like that kind of helping out travelers and sailors. But his probably this one, there's a story behind this one too, because apparently Santa or Saint Nicholas, at one point he was going into like a tavern or an inn or something like that, and he had ordered some of the food, and when he tried it, he struck down the butcher, the cook, and said that he was a murderer who had killed he had chopped up three young men and was feeding them to his patrons. And Saint Nicholas recognized that, struck the guy down, and then resurrected the three youths from their chopped up meat. So like he was also like he beat the shit out of a cannibal.
That's good. See, that's pretty badass.
And rescued the people that he ate.
That's terrifying. That's like only Batman could raise people from the dead.
Yeah, let's see. I want to see Clark Kent like fucking bring somebody back to life.
Raising someone back from the dead is really that's probably the most OP power there is, right?
It's just a matter of perspective, right?
Right. Yeah.
Depending on where you're coming from. Some of the other stories surrounding Saint Nicholas.
We can't forget the Santa Claus series.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Santa Claus series kind of weirds me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because from the very get-go, Tim Allen becomes Santa Claus by killing the previous Santa Claus.
Not unintentionally, but yes.
Unintentionally, yes, of course. But this is and apparently this is something that's like regular. Like everybody was ready for it. Is like nobody really mourned the previous Santa. It was kind of just, oh yeah, you killed Santa. All right, you're Santa now.
That's true. Wow.
And this implies that this is actually quite regular, and that to become Santa Claus, you must like keep what you kill and kill the previous Santa Claus to earn the title.
It's a brutal world of constant rejuvenation.
And I don't think I've seen all three Santa Claus movies. I know the first one was him becoming Santa Claus. The third one was with Jack Frost, right? With I think it's Martin Short as Jack Frost. And the second one was just about him trying to get married, right? Here, and you need to find Mrs. Claus. You're the second one.
It's just like the whole plot is you have to get married.
But I kind of want there to be a fourth one, and I want it to be about like someone else wanting to claim the title of Santa Claus.
I think that's I would look that up. I think that's a thing.
Maybe like was there a movie where like Tim Allen has to fight for the title?
Maybe this is Jack Frost.
Was that, I don't know, that might have been the plot for the third one, right? Like Jack Frost wanting to kill Santa so that he could become the new Santa. I'll look it up later. It's not that big a deal for
we were just talking about lores. Let's go back to the other one.
But there's probably a really cool lore behind that. I'm wondering if there's like a big lore drop involving those movies. But here's what Benito Cereno once quoted about Santa Claus. So although through the influence of modern depictions of Santa, we've come to view Saint Nicholas as a gentle and perhaps toothless figure of kindness and generosity, the fact is, Nicholas of Myra was no joke. He had a temper and would act on it when he felt his principles were being challenged. The earliest act of St. Nicholas that raised him to some notoriety, if not fame, like I mentioned before, is that at the Council of Nicaea, he walked across the floor and cold punched the heretic Arius, who was dared to say that Jesus wasn't the creation of the Father and not an equal. So that was like what got him to jail. Back into the quote. Also, there's like the historical precedent for that he knows if you've been naughty or nice thing. One of the most famous stories of St. Nicholas and how he became the patron of children is how he walked into an inn, asked for meat, and then immediately revealed that the meat the innkeeper served him was the flesh of 3 young men the innkeeper had murdered for their money. Nicholas turned the chops back into living boys, the power to raise the dead, not too shabby, and turned the murderous innkeeper into his indentured servant until he had paid penance for his crimes. The guy still follows Father Christmas around France, frightening children as Pere Foutard, or Foutard. I can't, my French is terrible. I'm going to be pronouncing so many names very badly throughout this episode.
Okay.
But Pere Foutard, or as I'm going to call him by his English, into his French to English translation, Father Whipper, is one of those European Santa Claus sidekicks that exist like all throughout Europe.
That's a horrible sidekick. Well, I don't know.
Well, no, but here's the thing. So this actually leads into what I could talk about next. Is so here in America, it's just like Santa Claus and his elves, right? Like those that's his team. Those are the people that help him out throughout the year. Those are the ones that like are his backup essentially. Like, no one's and whenever they're depicted, they're always like basically either they look like children or they're small people, right? Like those they're cute little elves with like high pitched voices. In Europe and in several other parts of the world that celebrate Christmas and have their own version of like a Santa Claus figure, Santa Claus like he travels around like time and space, and like he beats up on demons and murderers, and then he chains them all up and turns them into his sidekicks as kind of like to scare children into being nice. Like instead of these guys just doing terrible things, he'll like get a demon and the demon will be responsible for scaring children into being good, and then basically like they're his bad cops and he gets to play good cop.
So he has a whole team of indentured servants. Demons.
Yeah, well, I mean when you say it like that, they are demons. Demons and murderers. I think the most famous one is Krampus. Krampus got some notoriety Krampus in the it's actually a pretty good movie. That Krampus movie is actually not bad at all. It's very reminiscent of Gremlins, if you like that kind of like silly comedy aspect to it. But yeah, around that time that movie came out, Krampus was becoming like more popular within like the zeitgeist of pop culture. And so like because people were just hearing about like this, like there's a Christmas demon in Northern Europe. Krampus is just this figure who was I think he was a pagan god of fertility or something. Like he was worshipped by like pagans around that time, and then the stories are that Saint Nicholas came upon, beat the crap out of him, wrapped them in chains, and now forces Krampus to like scare children into being good for Christmas.
Nice. I mean that does sound really cool. Sounds more like a warrior aspect to it.
Yeah, there's also another figure who was referenced in The Office named Belsnickel. He's like a German version of a German version of Krampus, which is basically the same idea, where like he walks around with a whip and kind of like whips children into being not. He whips naughty children until they start being nice.
Yeah, if I saw one of these creatures, I don't think it took seeing a demon for me to feel bad about everything. So if I saw a demon, probably change things up. Although, that's probably for the best. Maybe that's much better to look at, because that way you see really who's behind the team of Santa Claus. It's not just the elves. It's not he's got all these demons that work very hard.
That's the image that I'm trying to get across right now. Like, Santa Claus does so well. Santa Claus can't get all the credit, you guys. He's got the elves in the shop. He's riding a sled led by 8 tiny reindeer, and then behind him, behind the sleigh, are just like a whole line of demons and murderers. He's also got chained up and dragging along to deliver coal and whip people back into shape.
Also, I wonder how HR approved that in the Santa Claus department, because it's like most people, it's like if you murder children at one point, it doesn't seem like you're allowed to work with them again afterwards. But now Santa's clearly has like a great rehabilitation program.
Yeah, I think I had there's actually a list of demons. Which is a weird thing to say. A list of demons that Santa Claus actually has working for him. But he
only uses them to scare children. There's no point where he's like, oh crap, I forgot this house on 2407. Here, bell dingy evil man. Go give this quick. And he's like, oh, okay. And I guess waddle through the chimney, and the kid's like, it's Santa. And it's like, oh no. It has
there's quite a few of them. So I'm sure somebody's responsibility is just to be like the gopher of the team. Because see, some of the demons besides Krampus include, and again, I apologize for my just horrible pronunciation. Besides Krampus include Klaubauf, Pezelbach, Hans Muff, Hans Trapp, Schmutzli, Belsnickel, as we mentioned before, Bartel, Rumpelklaus, Beelzebub, Drap, Boozebucht, and other variants that I will not go into as I just destroy their pronunciation.
The Hans Muff is going to get you.
And essentially, these were all if they weren't already demons in Christianity, they were probably pagan gods that Christians had to scare pagans into worshiping their god at some point. It was hey guys, you don't want to worship that god. Look at our saints. Our saints are so badass, and our god is so badass that our saints will kick your god's ass and make them work for him.
The old big stick policy, if you will.
Exactly. It happened in Greek gods too. Apparently Saint Nicholas had a big beef with Artemis, the Greek god.
Oh.
And he would actually go around Greece and Asia and just tear down the temples and and try to turn people to Christianity in the name of Christmas.
Yeah, I have to say, you're really destroying my my idea, my clean ideas of Saint Nick here.
I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm either here to destroy your ideas of the jolly old Saint Nick, or I'm here to make you realize that the truth is much more complicated than it seems.
It's just not so simple. The gift. On the one hand, it seems like he beats up a lot of people. On the other hand, he gives them the gift of, I don't know if the pagans would take Christianity as the reward.
No, yeah, for sure. I do not want anybody ever thinking that I am trying to speak up, trying to glaze over the horrible things that Christians have done throughout all of history to people who just didn't believe what they believed in.
Oh no, I'm just kidding. Of course, can you imagine people actually trying to cancel Santa or something? I guess I don't know.
Exactly right. Santa. What I'm trying to say here, Santa is too powerful for us to take him down alone.
I think that's true. That's really what we're getting at. The man has teams of demons. We're gonna have to work so much harder if we're trying. A lot of people want to take down Santa, but we're not doing enough.
This is not a war on Christmas, guys. This is a firefight, and we're losing. Christmas is too powerful. They have Santa on their side.
Don't worry.
And we had talked before about different versions of Santa Claus that have come up in movies and such like that, and I brought up the life and adventures of Santa Claus, and that movie, the Rankin Bass movie, was based off of an L. Frank Baum book that he wrote, the guy that wrote The Wizard of Oz, I believe.
Oh, nice.
He wrote the life and adventures of Santa Claus, and in that book, which the movie was based off of, it's one of the best. I haven't read it, but it's one of the best things I've ever heard, because apparently Santa Claus, Saint Nick, was abandoned as a small child, abandoned as a baby, left in the forest, where he was found by a 20-foot tall druid with a silver axe that shot laser beams out of it. And he was given to a lioness and lived off of her milk until he was old enough to fend for himself.
That's what we need. I don't. That's way cooler than like Paul Bunyan.
Exactly right. Like that's what I'm really trying to get at. Is like Santa Claus is like, he's up there with like legendary badass. He's up there with Zorro and Paul Bunyan and like Billy the Kid. Like these figures that we have mythologized.
As a society,
yeah, exactly. Like the story is actually like so much cooler than we actually give it credit for. Another version of Santa Claus, which I think is actually really cool, and I'm going to read an excerpt from the stories because J.R.R. Tolkien, writer well known for writing Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, The Hobbit, basically the guy that created the fantasy genre as we know it to this day. He wrote like a series of letters to his children over like 20 years, where he would like write a letter to them every year talking about the epic adventures of Santa Claus. and his adventures in the North Pole, which I think you can actually like
that'd be fun to read.
Yeah, it's like his version of Father Christmas. And J.R.R. Tolkien, when it comes to writers, he's this guy who was always very much into building a world, right? He only wrote
Lord of the Rings right now.
And the way that he started it, like he only wrote Lord of the Rings, or he only wrote like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and all that kind of stuff because he was a linguist. He created like the Elven language, the Elven script, and he was so fascinated by this, like by what he was doing, that he had to build a world around it. So again, with the world building, he's so good at, like, he was just this writer who was very good at, and he was probably a little bit racist depending on like when you get out of that book. Because the bad guys are all like these orcs that are different and dark skinned and weird skinned, but I'm not gonna get into that right now. I'll get into that later. There'll be a Lord of the Rings episode at some point. But yeah, he was just like this really fantastic world builder who put a lot of details into everything, and it created an entire genre that exists to this very day. Because people you wouldn't have like D&D or every like fantasy novel that has come out since then if it wasn't for the Lord of the Rings, most likely. And in these letters that he wrote to his children, he wrote over like 20 years, he would write these letters that were like his version of Father Christmas. And I imagine like this is what Santa Claus is like in Middle Earth. And I'm gonna read like this might be pretty long, so I don't know how I'll cut it.
Excerpt.
But and I might just like I'm gonna cut this part of what I'm saying right now but I might just like try to do like a very theatrical version of this when I put it in the podcast.
Oh, nice, cool. Yeah,
but in the letters they go something like this.
I have not the time to tell you all the story. I had to blow 3 blasts on the great horn wind beam. It hangs over the fireplace in the hall, and if I have not told you about it before, it is because I have not had to blow it in over 400 years. Its sound carries as far as north wind blows. All the same, it was 3 whole days before help came. Snowboys, polar bears, and hundreds of elves. They came up behind the goblins, and Polar Bear, really awake this time, rushed out with a blazing branch off the fire in each pole. He must have killed dozens of goblins. He says 1 million. But there was a big battle down in the plain near the North Pole in November, in which the goblins brought back hundreds of new companies out of their tunnels. We were driven back to the cliff, and it was not until young Polar Bear and a party of his younger relatives crept out by night and blew up the entrance to the tunnels with nearly 100 pounds of gunpowder that we got the better of them. For the present.
So this is describing a battle that Father Christmas had against an army of goblins, backed up by his best friend, the North Polar Bear, and an army of elves.
That's awesome. I didn't know you had an army of polar bears.
Yeah, well, yeah. Apparently, so he has like his best friend, the North Polar Bear, and his cronies, and then he also includes and this was also in the Rise of the Guardians movie. Like instead of elves working in the North Pole building toys, it's also an army of yetis, like abominable snowmen. And this was also included in like J.R.R. Tolkien's version of Santa Claus.
This? Or this is just letter. This is just like a crazy story he told his children.
These were literally like letters that he told to his children, but they have been published. They were published back in 2004 and are available to buy if anybody ever wants to check them out.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, like J.R.R. Tolkien just had like this really, really deep history of like them fighting. Like he killed hundreds of goblins. The North Polar Bear says he killed millions. So even within the story, like there's like those little character moments like that. And that's what I'm really trying to get at, is like that the history of Santa Claus is just as a character. Like there's really cool storytelling that I think we're missing out on. Where like how much more, like you and me, we stopped believing in Santa Claus when we were these young kids. Would we have wanted to if we had known that Santa Claus was like walking around with his pet polar bear, leading an army of elves and yetis against goblins?
It's a little different. I mean, like the French or more European lore for the tooth fairy, it's not the tooth fairy, they're rats, right? That come and steal. Rats come and take your teeth.
Yeah. Well, like the tooth fairy, like fairies are more like these little pests that kind of like come in and cause mischief and all that kind of stuff.
But yeah, the next Coca-Cola commercial for sure should be like Santa on the battlefield with like an axe and polar bears just destroying goblins. Like there's just blood on his face everywhere. And then finally,
like Amazon is getting ready to put out like a Lord of the Rings series. Where is the Santa Claus series? I want the story of Father Christmas in Middle Earth.
Gotta drop the axe, and then that's where he takes out and uncaps. Or maybe even better, he opens the Coca-Cola bottle cap with his axe. It's just finally just refreshed after amazing battle.
Just like a perfect slice where just only the cap comes off. That would be amazing. Before we finish off on this episode, which I hope you were having a lot of fun with it, Nick.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
So one of my favorite versions of Santa Claus, it's actually like a really recent kind of like a reboot to the whole thing, is a comic book. It's called Klaus by Grant Morrison. And
this is recent?
Fairly recent. Like he's only been writing the series. He wrote like a little mini series a few years ago, and then he goes back to it every once in a while, like adding to the mythos and all kinds. Basically, it's like an origin story to Santa Claus, nice. and then whenever it goes back to it, it kind of like goes into a different point in history where of another different adventure that either sometimes they take place in the modern day, sometimes they're hundreds of years ago.
Well, since it's Grant Morrison, I have to ask: does it make sense? This Santa Claus series.
It makes Grant Morrison sense.
Okay.
and because in it, let me see, Klaus. The very first series makes the most sense, I believe.
Because a multiverse for Santa Claus, and then like the rest of the series is just nonsense.
I would not be surprised, because in the very first series, Klaus is just like this guy who was like off to fight a war, and when he comes back home, he finds out that like a childhood friend that he was in love with has been married off to some lord who has like outlawed toys. It's very much like Santa Claus is coming. Is that story of Santa Claus is coming to town in the movie, where like there's the evil guy that hates toys and children, and he just wants everybody to be unhappy, and then Klaus comes in. He's basically like this Robin Hood-esque figure who goes in and starts delivering toys to kids just as an act of rebellion, which is the best. That is my favorite aspect of any of these stories whenever it comes to Santa Claus, is that delivering toys is just to like bring down the man. That's my version of Santa Claus, where he's just like the guy that's like, fuck the system, I'm bringing these toys to the kids.
Screw you, this kid gets a PS5 or my name is Saint Nick.
Yeah, at some point he gets like some at some point this version of the Klaus, who he's called in the comics, and that's the name of the comic, is he gets hurt or attacked in the woods, and some kind of like magical force reaches out to him and gives him like some magical powers, and he also gets like a giant white wolf for a companion.
Cool.
And
always take the white.
And we find out that the bad guy of the town, this lord, is actually working for a demon, and he's been enslaving people into like breaking open this demon's prison that they're like mining for underground. And when the demon is finally released, it goes out and starts attacking people, and it wants to eat children and like punish bad children. It's like, and in a moment, there's like two panels that make me cry every time I read this story, because I can't help but get choked up about it. Is like the demon is attacking, trying to attack children. I am here to punish all the bad children. And then the next panel is Klaus, Santa Claus, on a sled with rainbows trailing behind it, being led by a giant white wolf, going, "There are no bad children." It is the best.
It even has its own take on like whether we're born good or bad.
Exactly, and that's another thing that happened in the Santa Claus is Coming to Town movie, which I have to rewatch them before Christmas because those movies were great.
I only rewatched Rudolph.
Yeah,
Rudolph
is the one that Rudolph gets the most play, but you got to hunt down the other ones. But there's a scene where like Santa Claus is checking his naughty or nice list, and it's like, and it gets to the part of the song where it's like he's gonna find out if you're naughty or nice, and then Santa Claus just says, "Well, they're all pretty nice," which is like the best aspect of any kind of version of Santa Claus, no matter how badass or humble or nice that he might actually be. It is the ultimate message that we can all get behind, I think, when it comes to Santa Claus, is that hopefulness. Is that like everybody has some good in them that could be redeemed to some degree whatsoever.
Unless you're naughty, then you get the Krampus.
Yeah. What's the they're all naughty. Let God sort them out. Let Krampus sort them out.
Eternal damnation for you.
Oh man, but I really enjoyed this, Nick. I think I don't know. Let me double check. Let me double check to see if there's any other like cool stories about Santa Claus.
I hope that I might want to. We're looking for a Santa fix because I think they're about to get it.
Oh yeah. I hope there's like you said, there's I haven't seen much like of a fandom regarding Santa Claus. I kind of hope this comes out because I am fascinated by every story I've ever seen about like Santa Claus lore and all these really, really amazing stories that people have written over. Because again, if this is a character who's been around for the better part of 2 millennia, so there's and people. When it comes to storytelling, people have always been pretty clever. Like, there's definitely a lot of bad stories out there, but when you can find the really good ones.
Well, maybe it still has time. I mean, I feel like Greek and Roman stuff was incredibly popular, but now I feel like Norse mythology is really coming in the strongest in pop culture, and so maybe there's still time for old Saint Nick.
Mm-hmm. One last thing I just want to say is that Santa Claus is an official card-carrying member of the Justice League. Justice League invited him in some years back, and I think it was like on Mark Waid's run of the story. But otherwise, Nick, it was a pleasure to have you on. This was a lot of fun. Do you have anything that you would like to share? Anything you happen to be doing? Anything you want to promote? Or if there's anything like your favorite Christmas story that you want people to watch or something like that?
I do not as of right now.
It's all good.
Yeah.
2020 has an effect on us.
At Organic Nick. That's I guess I'll put in a handle.
But Nick, it was a pleasure to have you on. I hope that anybody listening to this will go into your own deep dive with Santa lore. Otherwise, thank you very much, man. It was good.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
That is the episode, folks. Big thank yous out to Nick for coming on the show, being a terrific guest, for engaging in my Santa lore dump. Thank you to you for listening. Happy holidays to you, whether you're celebrating, whether you're done celebrating, whether you're about to celebrate, or whether you choose to ignore all this stupid nonsense that we get down to every winter. I appreciate you for being here and listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, please feel free to send feedback at inmydefensepodcast@gmail.com. Also, consider giving us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Just look up In My Defense Podcast. Give us a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. Am I doing terribly? I want to know. I want to get better. I want to do that for you, listener. You, the one listening to this podcast right now. I'm speaking directly to you as a Christmas gift. Do it as a Christmas gift, please. If you want to be on the show, if you have an idea for something you want to talk to, if you want to argue with me, if I said something on this podcast that makes you very angry, let me know. I will get you on the show and I will give you your chance to rant. Just fill out a form at inmydefensepodcast.com. You can also go there to find every episode that we've done so far. Any news or anything interesting that might be coming up about us will be coming up on that website. Considering doing a format change very soon. Any feedback or any suggestions anybody might want to have about the show, that's the place to do it. Otherwise, folks, thank you so much for listening. We're getting to near the end of the year. I haven't been doing this podcast for a year, but it certainly feels like it. I really appreciate you guys listening, and for everyone who takes their time out of the day to listen to my geeky nonsense. We'll have one more episode to finish out the year, but until then, I will see you next week with another geek on the In My Defense podcast.